Welcome to It's Not You, It's Grief, a safe space to have candid conversations surrounding the many faces of grief. How do you handle the process while moving forward and ultimately getting back to living in the moment? Come on this journey as we navigate grief through the art of storytelling. And now for your host, Ahira Smith.
Hey everybody, happy Sunday to all of my people out there in Facebook world, YouTube, and LinkedIn. This is your girl, Ahira Smith, the Grief Mending Coach. Thank you all so much for joining me for a special Father's Day podcast episode. Yes, today's happy Father's Day to all of my dads, my stepdads, the unks, the grandfathers, G-pop, everybody who is a father out there celebrating Father's Day. We want to show you some love. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a special guest like no other for this episode. This is a classmate of mine from the Kentucky State University. This gentleman is very well known not only at the Kentucky State University alumni community, but he is also a very well known Louisville native. I said Louisville, not Louisville, but Louisville, Kentucky. And he is somebody that has been a mentor, a teacher, a coach with more than 20 plus years in the community back in Louisville, Kentucky. This man has done so much for our young people, especially for our African American males, that he's definitely been a father figure to so many great young men. And, I couldn't think of a better guest for this year's Father Day special than former Mr. Kentucky State University. I think he was Mr. KSU at 2000. He might have to correct me on that. He's nodding his head. Yes, he's backstage. But this is a gentleman who I look to for some spiritual guidance. He's also somebody who's kept me and a lot of my fellow classmates in line when it comes to our health, physical health, as well as being a great supporter on our journey to mental health and wellness. And let me just bring him on stage. This is my brother, my classmate, my KSU alum family member, Mr. Louisville male. He's the youngest Hall of Famer inducted into the Louisville coach. He's just got so many accolades, but I tell you what, his biggest accolade for him is being a great father, a great husband, and even more so, a great son. So let me bring you all to my special guest, Mr. LaKunta Farmer. Hey, Kunta.
Hey everybody, how you doing? What's
How you doing,
what's
brother?
what's up, Miss Smith?
With nothing else, Mr. Farmer. Thank you so much, brother, for
Man,
joining me. I so do appreciate you more than you know. Again, we talked a little bit backstage to just kind of reminisce about our K-State days and what life's been
yeah,
like for us as we are
mhm,
learning this thing called being an adult.
yeah.
And it's a lot. I mean, again, if we knew then what we know now, I think we would have wanted a promo, a preview, a
Yeah,
discounted rate, something.
right. Show me what's gonna happen so I can prepare
Right,
myself.
so we can prepare, but you know what? I think that's the thing about who we believe in. There is no preparation for life.
No,
We just got to go through it. We got to go through it. And so
right.
what I would like to do is, again, I want to turn this stage to you because I know you recently have gone through some life changing events that's impacted you mentally, emotionally, and of course spiritually.
Yep.
And I just would love for you to just kind of share a little bit of what that's been for you. We want to talk about fathers. I want us to celebrate Father's Day because I know you are a great father. Again, father
Hmm.
figure for a lot of people in the community and at your church. And we're celebrating fathers all during this conversation. And so if you're joining us, by all means, we want you to come on. And if you're a father, we want to celebrate you. If your father is not here, he's transitioned, we definitely want to honor him as well. And so, without further ado, LaKunta, I'm going to turn it over to you by asking you the simplest question. What does Father's Day mean to you?
Father's Day, what that means to me, man, it's probably like you said, honestly, the biggest honor that I could have. I've always, I've always wanted to be a great father, no matter what. I wanted to be somebody that my kids could look up to me and be like, that's who I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? My dad, me and him, we were very cool. We were very good people. You know what I mean? And he's a very big personality. And I was always in the shadow. Always in the shadow of that big, big, huge guy, man. And I just wanted to be that shadow. I wanted to be bigger than that shadow. I wanted to be better than him. I remember when I was playing for K State, they would ask us different questions, and I just said I wanted to fill my dad's shoes. You know what I mean? And being able to be a father and feel like I'm filling those shoes and then some, being able to raise my kids and them always having somebody they can come to, somebody they can talk to, somebody they can just give a big hug and lay their head on my shoulder. You know what I mean? It is the greatest feeling, the greatest thing in the world to be a dad. And honestly, not only to my kids, for all the football players, the track kids, the all the kids that I've ever mentored or just been around, man, the kids that I've taught. It's over 2,000 kids over the last 20 years. You know what I mean? And you talk about, did you impact them? Did you touch them? Did you be, were you able to reach them to give them something? Some of them call me pops. Some of them call me unc. You know what I mean? That father figure part of my life will never ever stop, and I just want to be the best that I can be. God, God gives you so many opportunities to reach people and to shine His light on other people. You know what I mean? But you have to do it in a way that is um, the right way. You have to do it in a way that is shining a light and allowing your fruit to be nourished, so you can give it to other people, so they can be nourished as well. So fatherhood to me, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't give it up for anything in the world. I want it. I love it. I'm proud to be the father of my children and anybody else that I've been a father figure for over the years.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So I'm curious. So what what have you learned from your children when it comes to being a father?
What have I learned from my children? The number
Mm.
one thing I've learned is patience, um, because you never know what the next day is going to bring when it comes to kids. You never ever know. Having two older boys, I got a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old. Having two older boys, you like trying to feel it out. Early on in their lives, trying to feel it out. Something always gets broken. Um, something always gets, turned topsy turvy around here. When it's dealing with them, and you just are never truly prepared for what's coming next. So you got to have some sort of patience. And then with my girls, everything changed when the girls came. I got 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. Everything changed when they came. That hard exterior that everybody was used to started to soften up. You know what I mean? And it's a learning process, especially with my 12-year-old. I've never had an adolescent girl. You know what I mean? And you just is you have to be patient enough to understand, like, you can't be as hard as you was on the boys, but you got to be, at least open hearted enough to understand what's going on with the girls. And sometimes I do get a little hard. My wife is looking at me like, babe, come on. And then I look at her like, babe, did you not hear what you just did? You know what I mean? Like I think me and her together, I owe a lot to Tiff. Me and her together, Tiff saved me. You know what I mean, with with mental health. because I was in a dark space when we met. You know what I mean? And just her being who she is helped me find the light, helped me find my way out of it. And I'm very appreciative of that. But patience, having somebody that you can bounce stuff off of, sometimes play good cop, bad cop. Sometimes both we be bad cops, you know what I mean? Then the most compassionate people in the world to the girls and the boys, both of them, the girl, all of them, all four of them. They're the greatest things that we could ever imagine having. And they just keep making us proud and keep doing things to make you smile. There are gonna be some downtimes, but they're our honestly our kids' good times outweigh all of those things. So I'm just happy to be a part of their lives, and they're being a part of mine. But the number one thing I've learned is being a parent is to have lots and lots of patience.
Understood, understood. So I'm kind of curious because this generation of a lot of people, especially the fathers who are starting to have kids and they're having daughters. A phrase that was coined by the late Kobe Bryant, girl dad. So would you call yourself, you think yourself as a girl dad, or are you more the I mean, I know you just dad to them, but I like, do you look at yourself now that you've had your two oldest kids are the boys and now the girls, do you see yourself as a girl dad now?
I am truly a girl dad. I am truly a girl dad.
Okay.
Um, but my girls, they love the stuff that I love. They love to laugh. They love, my youngest one loves wrestling. Uh,
Ain't
my
nothing wrong
oldest
with it.
one, right, right. My oldest one loves she's an athlete. She's all into everything, under the sun. My youngest one dances, and I'm at everything. Me and my wife, we try to be at every single thing that we can get to. And I know for me, well, for her, it's a lot disappointing when she can't be there and I got to be there, or vice versa. It's disappointing for me when I can't be there and she got to be there. I mean, to the point where sometimes, when there's school events that we know are just, random school events, and we both are there. You know what I mean? And, you know, just being there to support these girls because you know what these girls need. Being a mentor and being in the city and just knowing what the girls in the city are going through or have gone through, knowing what my wife has gone through when she was younger, you know what I mean? You try to figure out what you can do to protect them, what you can do to give them the right lessons to protect themselves as well, helping them find the confidence that they need, and just to be able to push themselves forward and know what the next moment may bring. It may not be the most happy thing, it may not be the greatest thing, but to be able to keep moving forward and keep going. Um, so yes, I'm a girl dad all the way through. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make sure my baby girls are taken care of and are in the right position to be successful as they can be, and I'll be here when they fail. So either way, yeah,
You
girl dad.
girl dad all the way. That's
Ha-
what's up.
Hashtag
Hashtag
girl dad.
hashtag girl dad. Hashtag girl dad farmer. Farmer girl
Hmm.
dad.
All day, all day.
All day, all day, all day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when we look at Father's Day versus when we were coming up, because we're both Gen X's here,
Hmm.
how does it differ?
You said when we look at Father's Day.
When we look at Father's Day in the rearview mirror, like, do you
Mhm.
feel fathers today are more appreciated today versus when we were coming up?
I, you know, I think I guess it depends from place to place. For me, I think we've always showed my dad love on Father's Day. I think we've always showed other fathers love on Father's Day. I think the biggest thing now is I have a lot of friends that are fathers, and a lot of people in my life that are fathers. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where you try to make sure you're supporting those guys too. So yeah, I think, and this is coming from a personal stance, it means more to me now than it did when I was younger, um, because I see my guys. You know what I mean? I'm blessed to be friends with a number of great dads. You know what I mean? And I'm blessed to be around people that are hold each other accountable about what we're doing with our kids and what the next thing moves are. And you can bounce stuff off of what'd you do when your daughter did this, or what'd you do when your son did this. You know what I mean? It's a blessing to be able to be around that. So for me personally, yes, I think fathers, to me, it means more now for Father's Day than it did back then. I didn't know the true full meaning of being a father back then. You know what I mean? I didn't know what the ramifications were. Of course, you saw what your dad did. You saw what your your uncles did, your aunts, your cousins. You saw what all of those people did, but you just knew that was what they were supposed to do. But
Mhm.
when you assume the role of a dad, you assume the role of a father, you then become a different being because your responsibilities are different, your priorities are different. So seeing other fathers and trying to mentor other fathers, and you know, trying to get them to be and do the things that are, representative of them and their family to raise your kids the right way. So yeah, it means a little more now to me.
Okay. So you mentioned your dad. So
Yeah,
you be
yeah.
kind enough to share what you comfortable sharing with us. Tell us about your dad, bruh.
Man, Willie Farmer Jr. He was the absolute strongest man I knew. You know, he was hard. He was tough. He was a prayerful man. He was a religious man. Um, he could tell you the ins and out of every Bible known to man. Um, but he wasn't a pastor and he wasn't a preacher. But I believe he could have been. He might not like speaking in front of people, but he loved to teach. He loved to teach Sunday school. You know what I mean? He was a competitive guy. He loved to challenge you, no matter what. He challenged the kids in the neighborhood. He challenged the kids that he raised. He challenged all of us. He upped the bar for us, so he gave us so many different things, man. He loved my mom. Um, he loved her to death, and he always had something for her. He always did things for her. He was a hustler. Uh, my dad found a way to make money out of no money. It was from he'd go to the DAV and grab some vacuum cleaners that were broken, go fix them bad boys up, and go sell them to people at a flea market. Shoes, clothes. That house that they live in now, it's like a warehouse of old stuff. And one day this summer, me, my sister, and my brother gonna go in there and start trying to, sort through it. But shoot, that's gonna be a challenge. You know what I mean? My dad was a proud man. He saw a lot. Born in 1938, man, and in the time of Mississippi and Alabama, where it wasn't cool to be a black man. You know what I mean? And he had to do what he had to do, to get himself out of that situation and out of that place. Um, he was inspiration. He was motivation, in both good and bad ways. He was um, he what he didn't cuss. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He didn't do any of those things. But he was a yeller. He was a firm guy. But it didn't show much emotion, but I think that was the time frame he came from. You couldn't show emotion. You couldn't show your hand. You know what I mean? And he was a very strong-willed person. If he wanted it done, he was gonna find a way to get it done.
Mm.
And he raised us to do the same. He raised us not to give up. He raised us not to lay down. He raised us not to back down from any challenge, to go attack it head on. So, a lot of the things that you saw from me when I was at K State was a lot of lessons that he instilled in me. That just raw will to to defy all the odds. That for me, I got from him. And knowing what he gave me about God, which is probably the most important lessons that I could have had. Man, he made me understand that I never should ever forget the source of my strength. Um, And he would tell me that don't forget the source of your strength. Don't forget the source of your strength. I'm gonna do this, but don't forget the source of your strength. It might get rough, but don't forget the source of your strength. But he also left me alone enough to figure things out on my own. He left me in positions sometimes that I had to figure out how to dig my way out. And I think coming out on the other side, he knew the life was going to be so rough that it was going to take me in places that he didn't anticipate, but he knew that the world didn't want somebody that looked like me to be successful. So those lessons that he gave me, I cherish to this day. Whether I liked the lessons when they were happening, or whether I disliked the lessons when they were happening, they were lessons nonetheless, and I learned a lot and I grew a lot. And I know that that drive to not give up, no matter what the circumstance. I know it came from him.
Okay, okay, okay. So we're talking about our dads,
Hmm.
and I know that my dad transitioned in
Hmm.
2018, and I know your father recently passed. So I want to take a moment to again to offer my condolences to you and the family on your loss.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you, thank you. So with the area which we're going to be talking about in terms of grief, you mentioned about how your father grew up in a time very much similar like my dad in a silent generation where being a black man down south it wasn't pretty at all. It was downright ugly, and black men in that era and in those parts of the country had to do what they needed to do to get out of harm's way. And so you mentioned that your dad was not necessarily an emotional man per se, but there was still lessons that he taught you in terms of how to press through. One of the things I'm curious about is that though your father was not an emotional man per se, I'm sure he definitely encountered grief through
Hmm.
through life experiences.
Yeah.
What was some of those lessons regarding grief when you were growing up that you saw of your dad?
So that's a difficult question for real because my parents, as a unit and as a team, uh, because I was second to the youngest, they didn't think I could handle death well, and
Mm,
they weren't wrong. So they kind of sheltered me from it. Like I didn't go to many funerals, and when I did go, it had to be somebody of major importance to our family.
okay.
Um, I was fortunate enough not to lose a lot of people early on, but high school, that's when the losses start coming.
Mm,
Um, and watch my dad. I remember my dad's sister died, and we were at her funeral, and he didn't cry. It didn't cry, didn't look like it bothered him much, but you knew he cared, but I felt like it didn't affect him. So I took a lot of those cues, like I gotta be strong when people go. I gotta be this way. I gotta be, I gotta show my strength when people go down. You know,
mhm,
um, my grandmother, who was one of my favorite people ever in this world, Grandma Rosie, his mom. I remember we were visiting her and she was sick, and I had no idea she was sick, but she was sick, and she said to me, she said, "Come here, baby," because I was her quote unquote favorite. But she told me, "Come here, baby." She said, "I'm tired, and I'm going home, and I don't want you to cry. If you cry, Grandma Rosie gonna come find you,
mm,
and I'm gonna get you."
mm.
There's nothing that woman ever said to me that she didn't do, and so I believe she was gonna come get me. So we go home. So
Mhm,
she lived in Mississippi. So we go back to Louisville. She dies maybe 3 days later.
okay.
I was upset, angry, but I knew I couldn't cry. So I literally worked on it. Like, I'm not crying. I'm not crying. I fought myself. I'm not crying. We end up going to the funeral, and I did good throughout the whole thing. The whole funeral, we were good, and we're all standing there. We get to the grave site, and they start to lower that casket into the ground. I took off running and got behind my dad's car, and I cried. And I just knew she was gonna be mad at me, and I just knew she was coming to get me somehow. And mind you, I'm 14 years old at this point,
Mm.
and I'm like, she's gonna get me. I gotta straighten up. And I looked up, and my dad was right there. And from that point, I think my mom took it upon herself to make sure I don't go through that no more. So she used to, get me talks about, when people die, this is how you react, this is what you do. But my dad never really said anything else. He just, hugged me, picked me up, put me in a car, you know, you got it, toughen up, it'll be all right. So then my mom's mom died, and I handled it a lot better. But while I was in college, people were passing away, and I wouldn't even know. They wouldn't tell me. Oh, they passed away a few months ago. What? Why didn't you tell me? Well, we didn't want you to worry. We didn't want to distract you. We didn't want this, and we didn't want that. And I used to get so mad. Like, I'm in my head. I'm grown. I can handle this. Like, tell me, talk to me. Like, I can do this. Um, my sophomore year, my roommate died. Billy Jones got into an accident. He died. So I went and spoke at his funeral. Didn't cry. Didn't shed many tears. And I felt like I'm my dad. I'm what I was shown to be. Um, a couple years later, my daughter dies, and I didn't cry. I did all the things. I got her a grave site, got her a headstone, and organized the funeral and helped get all the things together. And for months, I didn't cry. Um, I was in the weight room with Coach Barry. I think we was lifting 101. It was later on in that summer, and he was spotting me, and it was like 425 pounds on the bench, and it slid off my hand and landed on my chest, on my ribs, and I couldn't breathe. He picks it up, and I go outside, and it's pouring down rain. I'm talking about monsoon outside in the stadium. And I sat down in the parking lot and just lost it. And it had been probably a month or two removed from my daughter dying. And I was like, I don't have it to hold no more. You know what I mean? But I learned from those things that you can't bottle all of that up, um, because it'll come out sometimes in the wrong way. It'll come out in the wrong. It might come out. You might say something to somebody that you really don't mean. You could put somebody in a position that they don't want to be in simply because you feel a certain type of way. You push people away, you turn people away. Um, and I found myself doing that. But one thing I learned about my KSU family, you can push all you want, but they ain't going nowhere.
Got
Uh,
that right.
you guys, man, I'll put your arms around me. And 1999 was a rough year, but right, 1999 was a beautiful year in itself because I learned about what I had around me. I learned about the people I had around me. And I was so grateful for Tinsley, for Zach Anderson, for Chris Elder, for Maisha Lindsay, for Rhonda, because they didn't let me go. You didn't let me go, and y'all let me get through that. So learning to deal with those things helped me later on because as I became a teacher and an educator, man, you do so much to go in these kids' lives and be part of these kids' lives. And I am an educator that I want to know how a kid ticks. I want to know what makes you move. I want to know how I can get in. get in your thought process enough to get you to learn more than you ever thought you could. You know what I mean? To be as successful as you can be, but knowing some failures are coming. And in the process of, I guess, 20 some odd years of teaching, man, I've at least lost at least 25 to 30 kids. And I've spoken at their funerals, and I've done things for their parents, and, you know, trying to console parents and things like that. And it it got taxing. It got real taxing. It got taxing to the point, honestly, that I got numb to it. And there was no emotion. It was no emotion to it. You know what I mean? Um, just kids in Louisville in general, you know, just going like there's a death in Louisville every day. And a lot of these kids are connected. And me being so involved and so deep in what was going on in the city, I was caught up in it and trying to figure out how to help these kids and how to get them out of these situations. So I didn't have to go speak at another funeral. So I didn't have to go figure out, hey, how can I help this parent get through this grief? You know what I mean? And it got tough. It got tough. And I think it aged me a little bit then, especially when I was a head coach at Dawson. It aged me a little bit then. And I think it took a toll on me. And I went into a slight bit of depression with not really fully getting over my daughter leaving, and then all of these deaths happening back and forth. Um, and it was rough. And it took so long because I blame myself for my daughter dying. It had nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? It just wasn't her time. You know, and God called her home. But I blame me because I thought I was in control. You know what I mean? So I blame myself for that. And I had nothing to do with it. And I blame myself for a long, long time. I'm talking about years removed. Years removed. It might have been 2015 before I was really okay about that, you know. Um, so I learned a lot of lessons early on about how to deal with grief, but I promise you, the pandemic taught me another level of grief.
Tell
Um,
me about it.
so there was a, maybe every 2 weeks for about a year, and somebody I knew, somebody I was close to, somebody I had a part in died. And it got, I mean, crazy, absolutely crazy to the point my wife was like, "Dang, this is crazy, Kunta. I don't understand. Like, why are so many people in your life completely connected and directed to you? How are they leaving like this?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I remember one of the ministers at church. She's my mentor, one of my mentors. She said, "Baby, don't post nothing else on Facebook because I get sad every time you post." You know,
Mm,
because I mean, it was literally every 2 weeks. And I think the two that got me, we had a football player at Ballard. I won't say his name because, you know, I know how it goes, but football player at Ballard, he had graduated. He went to California, went to JUCO in California, was coming back here, and was actually going to play at K State. I had been trying to help him out and train him. He had just had a little girl, and this is probably 2021. Yeah, 21. And you know, weren't really back in the classroom. We were doing virtual classes. And his homeboys called me like, "Hey, coach, have you talked to such and such?" And I'm like, "Nah, not since yesterday. Well, not since the week before, or whatever it was." He's like, "Man, he hadn't jumped on the game in like 3 days. You know, it's something we do every night." Uh, I was just wondering, had you talked to him? I was like, "Nah." So they called me back and was like, "We about to go to his house. Can you meet us there or whatever?" And um, I ended my class and went to Don Treese's. Lord, I went to the kid's house and we knocking on the doors. He ain't answer. You know, his car was in the driveway though. and it had snowed the night before. I mean, like big snow the night before. Dust the snow off. He's in the car, dead, and we they found him. You know what I mean? In the car, gone. That hit me extremely hard. And then right after that, one of my closest friends and mentors, Ty Scroggins, he coached. He was a state championship coach 3 times, 4 time state champion here at Central High School here in Louisville. I call him my cousin because Norman Alvis, who went to K State, that's his cousin. That's my brother, so we cousins. You know what I mean? So um, we were pretty close, man, and we talked all the time. And we had just in 2020 had started putting together the Minority Coaches Association in Louisville during the pandemic, during the protest down in Louisville with Brianna. Me and him had gone down there and had gathered a bunch of coaches, and we did some things down there during the protest. And we was trying to get things together to move younger coaches forward. He got sick and he passed away. At his funeral, he died on my birthday, right? At his funeral, I'm looking at the screen that had his birthday and his death date. He was born on my daughter's birthday and died on my birthday. And it
Mm.
and it just I think at that moment I broke. And I was like, I do not I don't know what to do. Like I literally don't know what to do. And I was walking around and I felt like heavy all the time. And I felt like it was a dark cloud over me. And my wife kept saying, you need to get a grief counselor. She's a therapist by anyway too by trade, but she's like, you need to get a counselor. And I got with one of my therapists that we had dealt with years before, and man, it took a lot. We broke through it, and I've been good since. I mean, good since. Seeing that God had put me on a purpose and put me on a plan that all of these deaths weren't to hurt me, but He chose me to keep carrying on the light that they had been shining. He chose me to. They were connected to me, so I was supposed to connect to other people. So like we've lost a lot of K State people in the last 3 years, right?
Yeah, we
Um,
have.
and there are a number of them that I have been extremely close to that I've been able to speak at their funerals and be able to connect the people that were at the funerals back together. And we last year when Lee passed away, we had a big old barbecue here in my house. You know what I mean? And it brought people that together that hadn't been together in a long time. You know what I mean? Because for me, we don't need to always gather when it's a death involved. We need to gather when we just want to see each other and love on each other. You know what I mean? That's why
Hmm.
homecoming is so important. And to me, you get rejuvenated after homecoming because you get to see people that you was in the struggle with. You know what I mean? There were times, I know you remember this. There was times we was at Tinsley's house trying to figure out what we was gonna eat. You
What?
know, there's times that we was trying to
That
put
hustling
together,
factor was real.
man, putting together meals. Might
Neil,
come up might come up with scams so we can.
bruh, why you telling them all our business? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, you telling all our secrets. Wait a minute. We don't need to.
Listen,
They don't need to know all that. Now
I
we
didn't
we
tell
we
that. I
we
didn't tell
grew.
what we did. I'm just
I
telling you,
mean,
Mike.
but look, we were innovative. I don't know about the scam. We were very innovative. Our generation,
Well,
we were creative.
right, when I say scams, throw it away, baby. When I
Right.
when I say scams, I mean Mike will come up with, okay, we're gonna do this party down here. You're gonna do security over here. We're gonna get all the money and put it together. Then we're gonna eat, and then we're gonna do this. Or Mike will be like, hey, we're gonna create this haunted house behind.
Oh, you remember the honey? You pulled
We're gonna create this haunted house behind Exum.
the butt,
And
the X of. Oh,
listen,
oh, so
who
you
thinks of
so
these
so
things?
so wait, so you weren't part of the haunted house
All right, well,
downstairs and no. This was before you, I think. I thought you were going to talk about the haunted house that we had in the student center downstairs near the bowling alley.
no,
Oh,
no, no,
okay, never
no.
mind. Disregard that. Whoop.
Right,
But
right. That,
it
I've
was
heard
it,
about that one.
but it,
I've heard about that one. No, but I'm talking about the honey house that was in the back part of Exum,
mhm.
and and I don't listen. We got so much stuff from Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. It
It
created
was before the
this.
Dollar Tree. It was before Dollar Tree really came. It was a dollar and something, some change.
Right. Listen, it was wild.
It was a chain store. Let's just say that it was a chain store.
I don't know how we did it. We did it. We did
We
it.
made it work. We made
We
it
made
work.
it.
We
We
made
made it
it
work.
work. People had a set of skills. And shout out to Mike Tinsley when he hears this.
Man,
We giving you
man.
love, bro. We giving you love.
All love, all the time.
There was a lot of times when we like you said we stepped up
Yeah,
when we were down. So
yeah.
it was something. And you know, like you mentioned, you know, we don't have to come together when somebody's passing away. It shouldn't take somebody losing a life for us to
Right,
come together, you know, just even if we
right.
do FaceTime or, you know, if or, you know, Zoom, you know, it doesn't it the pandemic really shook a lot of us awake.
It ripped us up. It ripped
It
us
did.
up.
It did.
And the greatest feeling coming out of all that was to be in Hawaii with everybody, man, and just
Yeah.
being able to enjoy each other for a week. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? To laugh, to
Mhm.
joke, to
Yeah.
reminisce, to
Yes. Yes. Yeah, man, that was a time because again, two of our closest family members were decided to make this union together after 20 plus years of being
right,
apart. It just shows you how God works. You know, I'm
yeah,
going to bring y'all together tenfold in so many ways. And there must have been about at least 15, 20 of us K-State
yeah,
folks,
yeah,
you know, we and none of us knew, a lot of us didn't know what we were all going through, but we were able to find a way to come out there and be there for
yeah.
this because this was historical.
Right, right, right.
This was one in the books. We're like,
Hey,
Lord,
the
finally,
absolute book. You
it was
know,
phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And you
it
know,
was probably one of the best weddings I've been a part of. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And it was all because of the love that was in the building, the love that was on that beach that day,
that
and the
island,
love that
absolutely.
we shared. Oh my God! And the beauty of the island too.
Oh, man, that was I mean, we there was not a there was no grayness, there was no rain in sight. We were
Mm-mm,
just out
no,
there. We might have been baking
yeah,
because it was hot, but but we were good out there. Shout out
yeah,
to our family, Hawaiian Punch, my girl, my sister
yeah.
Pamela Phillips Ware, and our brother Sakari Ware,
Sorry,
and Easton, Mr. DJ
East side,
Sakari. Shout
east
out
side.
to East Side of Detroit. You know,
Yes,
we
sir.
giving
Yes,
y'all
sir.
love too. But you know what? This is the thing. When it comes to life, our journey, you know, we are going
Mhm.
to struggle. We are going to go through
Yeah.
grief. But on the
Mhm.
other side of it, though, we have something to celebrate because of the lessons that came with it, and we're able to
Yeah.
come together like that. And so, you know,
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of my K-State family. I know you are,
Mhm.
Mr. Former
Yeah.
KSU, ninth of 2000,
2000.
you know, 2000, got the
Yeah.
2000s out there. But you know, when this is what we, you know, this was our journey. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's going to encounter it, you know, in terms of grief
Mhm.
and loss, and again, how we, you know, get through it with resilience and grit. Man, let me tell you something. I have to, when I sit back and look at people who I know who had that grit, you were the first person came to my mind when if I knew anybody who had grit, I mean
Yeah.
the real grit, besides band folks,
Right.
athletes wise, it was you because of
Yeah.
just how much grit you shown through everything that you had just mentioned about the loss of students, our classmates. You
Mhm.
are just truly an epitome of what a renaissance man is about. And you know, you And obviously, we talked about this. Some things you can't teach.
Right.
Some things you kind of inherited, which kind of goes back to that of your upbringing with your parents. It's your dad and your mom, and
Mm,
you know with the lessons that you learned from grief at an early age, like from when your grandmother passed away to where you lost your roommate, to even when you lost your daughter, to now
mm,
24, we're still here breathing, thank the Lord, but
yeah,
we
yeah.
got close people who have transitioned, like Lee, and again more
Mm.
recently with your dad. How has your grief shifted in terms of processing what that is now versus back then?
Um, I think it has shifted in a understanding that everybody has an expiration date, and having to be okay with that. Having to be okay with God's plan, because there's nobody that was born one day and was supposed to live forever, right? We're here for this short time. We're here for this small amount of time, a blip in the timing of the universe, and we're here to do what we need to do for this time frame. Is it easy? Nah, it'll never be easy to lose people. Is it just natural? Yeah, we're gonna lose people. People gonna pass away. People gonna go, and it has shifted for me. When you're younger, you think people can live forever. You got that video game thought process. Maybe we could just hit the reset button and start over. You know what I mean? Or maybe we could just rewatch the episode of our favorite show. Life doesn't work like that. And at one point we probably all thought it did, and it doesn't work like that. And we know there's an expiration date, no matter what we do. And to be okay with that and to understand that part of it, that is the biggest thing that has shifted for me, especially in the last couple weeks. I had to, I knew my dad wasn't doing well since September, so it was one where you like, mentally try to prepare yourself. Like, I know this is happening. If he makes it to January, I know sometime in 24 it's gonna happen. This is the things I'm telling myself. So you're gonna be all right. You're gonna power through it. You're not gonna fold. You're not gonna fall. You're gonna grieve a little bit, but we're gonna move forward. It doesn't matter what I told myself. It
That
don't matter. Right. It doesn't matter how many pep talks I have with myself, how many times
high
there were
five
times like,
yourself.
look,
Hey.
right, you got this. You got it, dog. You gonna do this. I remember last couple few times I went up to the end of life facility he was in and sat with him, and I said to myself, I know it won't be long. And I remember, I think it might have been okay, one of the last times I prayed with him before I left. And when I got finished praying, he opened his eyes and looked at me like, "That came out of you, boy." You know what I mean?
Wow.
And that was, to me, probably one of the most gratifying things that has ever happened between me and him, and especially at this point. And it felt like this is right, but I know he's going. And I know he's leaving. I think he knew it too. And he told me he was tired. He told me I'm just ready to go. I'll go ahead and go. And I heard my grandmother tell me the same thing. And so when he finally did go, it took me a minute. I think I got the call at like 4:30 in the morning. Um, I tried to go back to sleep. I came down here to my garage and I worked out, and then I went to take my daughter to school, and I went to church. I'm the lead deacon at our church, and I have a key to the church. And I turned the alarm off, went in the church, went in the sanctuary, and me and God had it out, in that sanctuary. And that was therapeutic for me to do that, because it was something that I needed to do to move forward for the rest of the day and for the days coming. You know, I had I gone back years and years ago, I probably wouldn't have found myself inside of that church. I probably wouldn't have began to pray as hard as I did. I mean, I had worked out that morning and sweat, but by the time I was about to leave his church, I was sweating again as hard as I was when I worked out. That was a beautiful, meaningful time that I needed with God, so that I understood where I needed to be. So that shift that you asked about, that's the shift. That spirituality, that guidance that I needed, that to get me through it. And it has helped. It has helped tremendously. Now, mind you, I've had days, I've had moments, down moments. Like, I miss my dad, you know what I mean? And just I think, and I put this as a status. We take for granted when they're here that they're down the street or somewhere a phone call away. When they're not a phone call away anymore, I can't call my mom and say, "What's daddy doing?" You know what I mean? Is he all right? We take that for granted. And I think that when they're gone and you can't ask that question anymore, although you want to, when you can't call just to see how they're doing, or can't just pop up at their house and see what's going on, like, it's legitimately a blow every time. So to prepare myself for this day, this Father's Day, the first Father's Day without my dad, was challenging mentally. Um, my wife, she a couple weeks ago, kept saying I needed to get on the beach, and she got me a plane ticket to go to Fort Lauderdale and go sit on the beach for a couple of days. I was able to prepare myself for this day, from that weekend. To be able to kind of sit in a place that I know I can commune with God in the best way outside of the sanctuary. Uh, that I'm with the elements. I'm with the sand. I'm with the ocean. I'm with the sky touching the ocean. I'm with the sun. I'm with the birds flying by. The pigeons attacking me, however they did back while I was there.
Angry
But
birds, huh? Angry
the
birds? Is that
angry
what
birds was out. Yeah, they was out. But I got to be able to kind of, me and God got to prepare me for Father's Day, because I knew it was coming. You know what I mean? I got through Mother's Day, and I had the Father's Day is coming, right? So I'm here. Today hasn't been as tough as I thought it would be. It has had its moments, but I tell you how God works. Today, we get up, we go to church, and I knew we had a baptism, so I knew I had one baptism to go today. So I try to, whenever I'm about to baptize somebody, I pass preaching, I go up to the balcony and I kind of get my mind right, focus, I pray. Today felt a little different, because the last time I was there, um, my dad had just passed away. The last time I baptized somebody, my dad had just passed away. And that feeling that I had that day kind of came back. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I'm not ready. I'm ready, but I'm not ready. I go in there, I baptize the first little girl, who actually was the daughter of one of our K State alumni. Um, and it was absolutely ridiculous. I look up and I'm thankful for, again, it goes back to my K State family. I'm thankful for my K State family. Nisha Owens Patterson's down there praising God. Nia McKnight's on the other side. She's going in. Journey's mom, Kendra McCormick, she's up there going through it, because I just baptized her daughter. I mean, she might have been on the floor for about 30 minutes up there. Listen, and I look up and there's somebody else coming to get baptized. I look up again, and after that one's over, somebody else coming to get baptized. So God And I did 4 baptisms today. God has a way of saying, listen, through whatever storm you're going through, I still need you. You still got work to do. You still got to move forward. You still got to stand up, which is why this shirt is so important to me. You know what I mean? Every blessing that he continues to give me, I don't have anything but gratitude to say thank you, God, for allowing me these opportunities to see your power. So yeah, I had some down times, some floating times, but I had some really high times. And I tell people all the time, after you baptize people, it kind of takes so much out of you. Um, and you try to pop back up, build back up. Today took a lot out of me. And I've been kind of monotone since. We took the girls to the movies to watch Inside Out 2, and I watched the beginning and the end because in the middle I was asleep because so much so much had been taken from me energy wise, and mind you, granted too, on top of that, I did an all-star game all last weekend in the heat and the sun all week, and didn't sleep well because I slept in a dorm bed, which is not normal uh, for 3 days. So getting to church today was cool, and but God has a way of using you no matter what the circumstance, using you no matter what. And I'm just grateful that I have a family that understands and cares and loves me, to know this dude is doing what he needs to do. And my wife knew I was asleep in the movie theater, and she just let me sleep. You know what I mean? She didn't say, "Wake up, you doing it, you girls." You know what I mean? She let me sleep until I was snoring. Of course, I was trying to, disturb other
Mm,
people watching the movie.
mm.
But she woke me on up.
That's
But
the good sleep. That's the good sleep when you snoring a little bit, you wake yourself up, the
Mhm,
body's letting you know you needed that shutdown. You need, but
correct.
no judgment, but I'm judging. No judgment. Honestly, I think side note, I think once we get to that certain age, when sleep take over and we wake ourselves up from our snore, you know
Yeah,
what? It's okay. I don't think it's anything we should be embarrassed about because
nah,
adulting is hard.
right. When it's nap time, it's nap time.
It's
Like we
nap
ain't gotta,
time. Listen,
ain't no
we
question.
didn't appreciate those naps when we were a kid. Now we get that nap in, bruh.
Listen,
Let me get my pillow and blanket. I'm out. Deuces.
I be trying to tell my wife, man, you better get you this little 20-minute nap. Save your life.
Shoot. Listen, you get in the fetal position with that blanket and pillow, you are good. You are good,
Right,
man.
right.
But
Exactly.
man, listen though. Look, first of all, you are appreciated. First and foremost, to even come on here to talk about your relationship with your dad and what the relationships have meant to you as far as being a father, a mentor, a father figure, a deacon, being that of a believer of the most high. And
Mhm.
you know what? You don't take your title as a father lightly at all. And that's clearly evident, and not only in the words that you have shared today and just in years past, but also by your actions. Because even in your darkest moment, and I know that you and we've talked about this, that
Mhm.
light was still there. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
yeah,
that's the only way sometimes how our light can shine is when it's completely dark and you see that light, you know, like I told you before, we know who we belong to. We know
right.
whose we
Yeah,
are. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
yeah.
before I let you go, I just kind of want to ask you if you could share some words of wisdom from the farmer book, uh in terms of those who are struggling with today being Father's Day, or even particularly our young men whose father may not be in their life for one reason or another. Maybe their father has passed on like ours has, or
Mhm.
because the relationship had been severely tainted from years past of trauma. what advice can you give to those who relationship with their dads are just not they're just not, what kind and in terms of handling the grief that comes with it, with our fathers not being in their life, what kind of advice?
Right. Um, what I have learned over the years being a mentor and dealing with kids is some of them don't know who their fathers are. Some of them's fathers are in their life, like you mentioned. Um, there's a grief that goes with that, like you said. There's a massive grief the grief that goes with that. What I'd say is for those guys that fathers are living that just don't have a relationship, I can kind of relate a little bit because me and my dad had a rocky area where we didn't talk much. We couldn't be in the same room with each other for a while. Um, and that's due to whatever reason he had and whatever reason I had, it was rough. But through those times, I I relied on God a lot, but I always found a mentor. I always found somebody else I could go talk to. Um, there was Mr. Costa, there was Mr. Rich, there was Mr. Banks, Wesley McGriff. Man, I can go on and on through names and men that have stepped up in my life that poured into me. So, and sometimes I had to go find them for me to, you know, to get them to pour into me as well. So, my advice would be find someone that can pour into you. Find someone that's going to give you sound, legitimate advice, sound, legitimate movement, sound, legitimate. And when I say legitimate, I mean not just telling you, but actually living the life that they're asking you to live. Because there's too many people out here, and it's funny. My pastor talked about this today. That it's too many people being hypocritical. They tell you not to do it or judging you for doing what you're doing, but you're doing the same exact thing, right? I can't tell somebody you shouldn't be a you should not abuse drugs if I'm abusing drugs, right? I shouldn't tell somebody you shouldn't be an alcoholic if I'm being an alcoholic, right? There are things that you have to be very, very careful on how you give people advice as well. Because if you give them the wrong advice, now you can lead them away from you can lead them away from the church. You can lead them away from so many different things and away from you. You can give them the wrong advice. So for anybody, I'd say just pray and ask God to lead you to somebody that can mentor you, lead you to somebody that can take care of you and give you good advice and give you good thought processes and help you. Now, for me, I always tell people I don't always have all the answers, but if I can put you with somebody that I know that can get answers, then I'm gonna do that, right? We have a men's group at my church, and yesterday, it's funny. Yesterday, that a guy was talking in the group messages. He was like, "Man, I need a therapist. I need a black male therapist. I don't want anything else. I'm having such a hard time finding this black male therapist." I gave him my wife's business. Shout out Best Life Louisville, mental health therapy company, Tiffany Farmer. If you need him, it's www. I'm just the plug.
No,
We'll
no,
talk about
you
that
can
later.
put that out. We'll post it. We'll post that
www.
information out
Yeah,
there. Go ahead.
www.bestlifelouisville.com. If you need any mental health therapy, we have therapists on deck. And I told him what to do yesterday. Today he walks up to me in church and is like, "Man, I got a consultation, Deacon. I appreciate it." He gave me this big old hug, and I ended up baptizing him today. How crazy is the circles? You know what I mean? So find somebody that can pour into you and give you the things that you need to move forward with your life, and get you more than one, because one person's opinion is not always gold, right? You take what you need from all the people that you can get yourself around. So, like, just my advice would be continue to search, continue to seek. They don't have to be your father, right? But they could be somebody that can help you along the way.
Absolutely, absolutely, and Man, that's good. I love it. I love it. And that that's it. I told you
Yeah,
I wanted this conversation to be
yeah,
organic, authentic,
mhm,
intentional, safe, and supportive. And I'm so glad I was able to hold some space for you, brother, to just talk about what it means to be a father, a great father, a dad. I want to celebrate fathers who are with us, those who are working to get back in our lives, or those who've transitioned on, because I I could not be who I was without my father, just like you couldn't be who you
mhm.
were without your father. So, definitely want to give a shout out to all fathers, all stepdaddies, father figures, uncles, the mentors, the coaches, the
Right.
deacons, those who are on the up and up, who are who are present and keeping that accountability on us and integrity. You truly are an example of what it means to be a great father, but even a better man. So I'm so appreciative that you are my K-State brother. I love you. I love you, and
I
I
appreciate that. I
appreciate
love you too.
everything. Yes, absolutely. And so for those, again, shout out your wife's business one more time. One more time. Go ahead. I support
It
other people, so go ahead.
Listen, I am and thankful to her. I've been about mental health for as long as she's been in it. In the business actually. Um, Without her, I wouldn't be where I am, honestly, mental health wise. I'm always an advocate for that. And for her business, it's not about the dollars of it. It's about how many lives we can help, how many lives we can change. It is www.bestlifelouisville, all one word, bestlifelouisville.com. And you go on there, you can you schedule a consultation. And my mother-in-law, who is actually one of the receptionists, and Amanda, who is another one of our receptionists, will get with you and put you with the right person. But be sure to be detailed and tell them what you need, because we want to make sure we're doing the right things for mental health, which is another reason why I started Club Thorough Fit Club and Club Thorough Run Club, because I believe, our mental health also goes with our physical health too. Just all the things that we can do to help ourselves be better, get better, grow better, be stronger, all the things. I'm always an advocate for. And if you need a church home, come to Kingdom Fellowship, Louisville, Kentucky,
Put it out there. Hey,
328 West Broadway. Listen, I'm ready for all of it.
go
We
ahead.
just uh, I want people to be better. You know what I mean? In every aspect of their lives, including myself. I'm so far from being perfect, but I have a lot of fun trying to find perfection. Um, so
You know what, man? You said a mouthful, because I know. Listen, one thing I can really truly say, for me, and if it's okay with you, we may not be
yeah,
where we want to be, but we sure heck is glad we ain't where we used to be, because this
man, man,
man,
man.
'cause it's
Listen,
real, and it's interesting how this month, June being National Men's Mental Health Month, this is essential.
right?
This is
Yeah,
this is it shouldn't be a month. It's not a month. This is lifelong, and
it's a
that's the same thing
lifelong.
for
Yeah,
us. And it's the same thing for us women. This is a lifelong journey. We got one life to live, and we have more yesterdays than tomorrow. Please believe
yeah,
that. We have more
hmm,
yesterdays than tomorrow. So,
yeah,
definitely reach out to the Farmer family as far as that mental counseling. Please reach out to me from Grief to Life if you want that grief
yeah,
coach. I specifically work with those with grief and trauma, and just we want to be here, but we have to be intentional. Nobody's going to make you do it, but you got to be intentional.
right.
They used to say, there's that old saying, hurt people hurt people, but hurt people who are healing don't hurt people.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, and
Right.
we're all a work in progress. Every one of us is a work in progress. But enough of that,
Well,
though.
before we go though, I want to tell you thank you because
For what, sir?
since you knew my dad was sick, you have checked in on me weekly, monthly, um, and even after he died, you were instrumental in trying to see if I was okay and things like that. I know you've done that since way back in the day, but for you to continue to do it now means a hell of a lot to me, and I thank you for
Oh,
all of it, man. I
oh,
thank
you're
you. I
welcome.
appreciate that.
Listen, listen. You are so welcome. I know because people checked on me,
Yeah,
and I tell people all the time that if you ever really want to know a person's true nature or character, let somebody's passing occur, let somebody pass away occur, and
yeah,
that really indicates a person's true nature. You'll get those phone calls initially, and oh, if there's anything you need, reach out to us. And I'm telling you, I've had so many people who said that to me when I lost both my parents. But knowing what it was like being in that space, I wasn't reaching out to people, so I had people
yeah,
reaching
yeah,
me,
yeah.
people reaching out to
Right.
me like, I'm checking on you. You
Yeah.
too quiet for me. I'm just letting you know I'm here. And it wasn't until a couple of our classmates who have lost their own parents, and they've told me, they're
Mhm.
like, look, when you lost your dad, I didn't get it then. Now
Right.
that I've
Yeah.
lost my dad and my mom, I get it. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, but even then, it's not quite the same because the relationship I had with my dad is not the same as yours. It's not the same as your
Right.
mom. It's still
Hmm.
different, but you get it.
Yeah.
And so for me, the reason grief is wild, it's messy, it's unpredictable,
Hmm.
but it's also we grieve because we love. And I know without question, you loved your father so
Yeah.
wholeheartedly as I love my dad and my mom. And you know, it's ongoing because we still love them,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and
And it
and and
never
it
stops.
ain't going away. Ain't going away.
Mm-mm.
We our love.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't go away when the day's over with Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays, or remember that time when Unc or Dad or Mom did this and that, and things you smell and hear, and it still pops up because you still love them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm just
You
glad that
you
I was.
asked the question. You
Yes,
asked the
sir.
question in the email. You said, "What songs remind me of my dad?"
Hmm.
And my mom used to sing "His Eyes on the Sparrow,"
Hmm.
and my dad loved when she sung that to the point
Hmm.
where he would ask people that would come over my house, like my friends, "Hey, sing? Can you sing?" And if they said yes, they had to sing that song. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
And just just those little reminders of that, you know what I mean? The music, the things that you associate your dad with. I ride past the DAV, I'm like thinking about my dad, you know what I mean? Or I ride past 18th and St. Louis where he used to set up his little flea market, and I'm thinking, dang, my dad was right there 20, 25 years ago. You never forget, like you said, you never forget those things. And you know, I can't remember what show I was watching, but they uh, they always talk about if you let the memory fade, then you let that person fade.
Mm.
Like if you forget who they are, and they literally are. The whole show is premise. I cannot think of what the show is, the name of it is, but the whole show's premise is to fight for the memories of the people that are gone.
Mhm.
And if those memories get stolen because there's the enemy, the villains trying to take the memories, then what
Mm.
if you fight for those, then that's the most important thing to make sure we're still remembered, make sure those people are still cherished, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So if we let them go in our heads, then those memories are lost. You know what
Right.
I mean? I was watching something that said I can't see his face anymore. I
Mm.
can't hear his voice anymore, and that's the part that's scary later on. I don't want to ever forget their
Mhm.
faces. I don't ever
Mhm.
want to forget their names or forget what their voices sound like.
Yeah,
So, to your point, they never go away as long as you don't allow them to go
that part.
away.
That part, that part. And that's it, brother. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. And for those who are watching this in the comfort of their home or wherever they are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, on my page, on LaKunta's page, thank you so
Mhm.
much for my thoroughbred family, from both our families, for just watching this wherever you are. Thank you
Say
so much for
breads.
joining us. Say bread. Thank you so much for watching this great conversation. And trust me, I'm gonna get LaKunta on here again. We're gonna actually, I
Yeah,
think I'm
come on.
supposed to be visiting him and his lovely wife on their podcast. Shout
Yeah.
out your podcast as well, because I'll be on
Man,
there cutting up love and truth,
Love and truth, man.
love and
Love and
truth.
truth with L&T. We talk about all the beautiful things about marriage, relationships, and just love in general, man. I want to give a shout out to her, though. I think I have throughout this, but she is the truth of the love and truth. I mean, I literally am blessed, and God has given me so many things, but He gave me her, and I'm tremendously grateful for that. So,
That's what's
love and
up.
truth. You can see us on Instagram, Love and Truth Pod, on Facebook. We're on YouTube as well. If you go to loveandtruth.com, click on listen now, and you'll see our episodes. And we'll be back soon. We've taken a break since my dad passed, but we'll be loveandtruthpod.com. You might have heard her voice in the background.
Little bit.
But
Love and truth,
but
loveandtruthpod.com. Got it.
yeah. If you go to loveandtruthpod.com, you click on listen now, you'll hear the first 8 episodes. Like I said, we took a break since my dad passed away. But I think once we get back, we might do an episode from Cabo. Be waiting. It's coming.
Bro, I got my passport. Just tell me. Just let me know.
Come on.
Let me know.
Listen.
I got my passport. Just let me know. But shoot, I know I'm due to be in the hot seat with y'all. Please understand though.
Mhm.
I'm different. So as long as I can bring my Thundercat real moments, I'm good.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
not a cougar. I'm not a cougar, but I'm a
You're
Thundercat.
not a cougar,
So
but you're a
I'm
thundercat. All right. All right. So we're gonna get your sword ready. We're gonna fight mama. We ready. Let's get it. All right. We're
Let's
good.
get
We're
it.
good.
Let's
We're
get
good.
it.
All
But
right.
for everybody again who's joined us, thank you so much. We appreciate you all. Again, happy Father's Day to every one of you all who are
Happy
celebrating.
Father's Day, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. You are appreciated from us, from Grief to Life to you, and from It's Not You, It's Grief. Thank you so much. And you know what? We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening, being intentional, and sharing this moment with us. We at It's Not You, It's Grief deeply understand the many facets of grieving, and we want to make sure we can be here for you. Again, thank you for listening, and tune in again wherever you subscribe to podcasts. We look forward to seeing you next time. Be well.